with LAJC.
Hi, Orion. Thank you, Jen, for the invitation and having this opportunity to talk with everybody. I'm Manuel Gago. I am community organizer with LAJC for 3 years now. By original journalist from Venezuela, I came 7 years ago to the US. Have a lot of experience working with a human rights organization like Amnesty International. Actually, I am the country specialist from the Amnesty USA. Always very involved with all these issues and taking this opportunity to work as a organizer that's not on my field, you say, but like I see like I can combine all my expertise, human rights knowledge and journalist knowledge to bring a lot of histories and change for the farm worker community here in Virginia.
Awesome. Well, what's it like being a farm worker in Virginia?
Well, it's crazy. I think the day of the farm worker start very early. Sometimes very early because the housing of the farm workers is not good. You can share a small house with 10 to 12 people, only one bathroom. And sometimes farm workers tell us like they do like games to like who will be the first one to go to the bathroom. And sometimes don't need to have a toilet in the house. They have a portable potty so to go outside. So imagine doing that in the summer. The same for the summer is crazy because even the regulations have talk about when it's cold, you need to have heat, but they don't talk about summer. So most of the housing of the farm worker have no AC. So workers tell us like sometimes they put like a water bottle in the freezer. So in the night when it's frozen, they put it in the pillow, so they have like a little bit cool in the night. So after sleeping very bad, they wake up and work long hours under the heat conditions very bad in the summer, no right to break. And after 10 hours maybe that day, more than 60 hours in the week, they get a check, no overtime because farm workers have no right to overtime. So sometimes like the deduction they make and some people barely make the minimum wage, or a lot of people sometimes don't make the minimum wage in Virginia.
So on May Day, Virginia celebrated raising the state's minimum wage to $9.50 an hour, but a big sector of our workforce was excluded from that raise, who are farm workers. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so we were very happy that a lot of workers in Virginia now have a path or a living wage, no? Like it's 950 this year, but it will be increased every year to have a living wage soon. But sadly, farm workers are not included in that. And even like a lot of legislators say like, and when you remember in the session or the lobby say like, we pay farm workers that come with a visa more than the minimum wage. Yes, that's true. The workers that came with the H-2A visa, that's agricultural workers, they have a contract, and this year the minimum is $13.50 per hour. But we have a lot of workers that don't came with a visa. Like we have at least 50% of the workers in Virginia are local. The US farm workers are not entitled to that wage. So we have cases of workers that working a lot of hours and not getting the minimum wage. Yesterday, this weekend, I was in a health fair in Southwest Virginia. I was talking with a worker, a tobacco worker, and I asked like, how much you get paid by hour? I said, well, I get paid by production. So they have like they need to when they taking the leaf of the tobacco leaf, they put it like in a stick. So one stick is like 5 plants. Each stick is 20 cents. Imagine. So you say, I made in 10 hours 300 sticks. So how many like and they make so there is like a $60 in a day. So that's not enough for like a very hard work and very dangerous work like in tobacco that we know they have a lot of um, side effects working with tobacco. So it's crazy like what is happening with the farm workers that sadly last year and this year a lot of people were so proud because farm workers keep working hard and put the food on our table during the pandemic, but they was working because they had no more option. No? So, but we need to pay them better, not only with like a nice uh, Facebook post or like a good article in the New York Times. We need to pay them with a living wage.
Right. And you touched upon something really important, that they keep on working to put food on our table during a pandemic. Like they're putting their lives on the line for us just so we can eat. And people don't really understand that. So thanks for bringing that up. So agricultural workers are currently exempt from minimum wage requirements, meaning they can be paid less than the minimum wage. This exemption was created during Jim Crow. Can you talk to us about the history of this?
Yeah, actually, I find an article very important, like talk about the history and like when 1938 they created this the fair labor standard. There was a lot of pressure from some many legislators, especially from the South, um, putting pressure like agricultural workers need to be exempt because they are not equal to other workers. Why they're not equal? It's because they're race. Like a big percentage was black folks in the South. And so let me read if I can read this quote. This Southern legislator Mark Wilcox, that was from Florida. They say there has always been difference in the wage scale of white and colored labor. So long as Florida people are permitted to handle the matter, this delicate and perplexing problem can be adjusted. You cannot put the Negro and the white man on the same basis and get away with it. So there was compared like the black workers are not equal to the white workers. So that's why farm workers that don't need to be included in these protections. And we had this from 1938 still in 2021 existing in our laws. Many states are giving a step further. California, so many in the north, even like Washington State, way more. They now farm workers are entitled to overtime, but here in the south, here in Virginia, we're still way behind for protection for farm workers. And it's sad that so many legislators and are using almost the same rhetoric, more like beautify words, but at the end it's the same racist considerations why farm workers are not entitled for a minimum wage.
So what you're saying is that in the beginning, this is part of Jim Crow, and it was mostly applied toward Black agricultural workers to exploit them and their labor. But now we're seeing more of it being an immigrant workforce, because most of our agricultural workforce is immigrant, and they come to Virginia as migrant workers. So why is it so easy for their employers to exploit them?
Because the law allows them. So many people take advantage of immigration status, and even people with immigration status have the same exploitations here. But because at the end, it's sad, like a worker came to us and said, well, sadly, that's legal. But I think in Legal Aid Justice Center, something like we always do is like, we don't say, oh, sorry, that's legal, we can help you. So when that stuff happen, we start like, okay, let's work together and start changing that. For right now, I think 2 or 3 years, we are part of coalitions in Virginia to increase the minimum wage, to take out the exemptions for so many people. But sadly, well, Farmworkers left behind. But we still have the the energy and the farm workers give us and the voices of the farm workers on the field are still very powerful and claiming to have this exception being part of the past. Need to be we need to take erase that from the laws in Virginia.
I hear that. Something else, you said that a lot of the workers come here on visas, but there's also a big part of that workforce that's undocumented. So maybe employers think they can exploit them better because they are undocumented and they don't feel like, these workers can organize for their rights, and they think it's easier to deprive them of their rights.
Yeah, part of that, we always, when we are in the fields, in the weekends, very late in the store, when they cash the check, we tell them, doesn't matter the immigration status, you have rights. And undocumented workers have a powerful voice. Sometimes we saw like they take advantage of the more vulnerable workers. They have maybe issue back home, they can go back home, or they have family, or have a family member that is sick, so they need a work. So that's why they know they take advantage of this. Also, we saw a lot employers too. They have U.S. workers here. It's not so many U.S. working on the fields, but they take advantage and they recruit these workers in homeless shelters. Workers they have a very sensitive way of life, and they are taking advantage of that too. So it's like a scheme. No, they are using these recruit tactics to target the more vulnerable people, so they know that they can exploit it. No?
About how many people are in the farm worker workforce in Virginia?
Well, we say it's around, the numbers are not exact because always it's very difficult to get that number. But we think it's around 5,000 to 6,000 workers. And we believe that around each year, around 3,000 could be workers with the H-2A visa. We say like maybe another 3,000 could be migrant workers that can this migrant circuit. They start in Florida, picking over there, and they go all to the East Coast. Maybe it's a very, very small percentage the workers that are Virginia workers, right? Because the farm worker work is a very seasonal work, and very few stay on the farms working all year round. You only see that like maybe farms that are like dairy farms, cattle farms, but the one that have crops is very few. The workers that are all year round.
So they start in Florida and they're harvesting, I guess, tomatoes, right? Because I know
Yeah. Immokalee, they are all the south. They are with strawberries. They are with oranges. They came Georgia, South Carolina with sweet potatoes. North Carolina with more tomatoes and sweet potatoes and blueberries. Came to Virginia 2-3 months. Here they came with tomatoes. They have produce like herbs. We saw the apples. We saw the Northern tobacco. After that, they go maybe to also potatoes and sweet potatoes too here. And after that, they go maybe to Delaware and Michigan for a few before the winter get very, very cold, and they go back to Florida again. So they're like a 3 months or 2 months in each state do the harvesting.
And you talked briefly about this. A large chunk of them are living in poverty. So you mentioned that there's a lot of people living in crowded housing without air conditioning. They don't have toilets. Can you talk more about the conditions that they're living in?
Yeah, so they're very, I think with my hand, I can count the housing of the workers. They're like a very acceptable conditions, and there are maybe some, I would say around maybe wineries, 2 or 3 wineries. They have a good housing, I can say, but the rest is like I remember one of my first trip to the south or around the Danville area. We went to a house. I have the BDH and BEC supervised this house and approved the house. I was driving there in the map. I saw like maybe this is wrong because like over there is like a house falling apart. I don't think we have the wrong address. And when we were about to get out, and somebody waved at us, and like people living there, and actually were like 8 workers living in the house. The foundation of the house, it was like a cinder blocks, like in a rock and a piece of wood. You enter to the house, it was balancing. They have, and by the time they don't have the toilet to say. Um, what happened? No, like we just came like a week ago, and the owner is still no delivering the portable toilet. Portable toilet, yeah. So what are you doing? Well, we go to the woods, like, and they came here to the U.S. to better conditions, and they say, well, if we complain, we can lose our job, or they can blacklist us and not coming back next year. So that was horrible. And we go to trailers, the seller of mold. We have like the AC is like, and the summer is like the basic. I think it's something like that. Here's the intersectionality between workers' rights and climate change. Yes, the laws of the 1938 they say heat because maybe back in the time 60, 70 years ago, you have maybe one day of like reaching 100 degrees. Now every year you saw more and more, and now it's almost a week. And during that week, how many workers get faint because heat stress, and every year it's increased more and more. And that's why like it's not only workers' rights. It's a lot of stuff that come together, and we need to change that. No.
I hear that. So, these farm workers, they are risking their lives to put food on our table during the pandemic. They are integral to Virginia. They are the reason why we eat. So, what is the least that we can do for them?
I think put more pressure, like when the contact the legislator when the lobby season start, and because for sure we were next year doing the same, and a lot of organizations doing the same to put pressure to have better condition for housing, better condition for minimum wage pay, and breaks that are or basically or always or demands. Put pressure on the legislator to change that because I remember somebody asked me, what is the best? I buy organic, I am helping. Is like, actually, no, like organic produce is more difficult to harvest, and the worker had like hours and hours in the knees, like weeding all the plants. So I think the best stuff we need to do is demand better conditions to farm workers in Virginia, and the time is contacting your legislator, especially the ones that are like in the agricultural areas. That is sad when you hear in past session, and mainly all the sessions, when they have um, question for us or question for other people that are talking, is always about the industry. How will it affect the wine industry? How this will be affect the tomato industry? How will it affect the Christmas tree industry? We're not talking about industry. We're not talking about trees. We're not talking about business. We're talking about human beings. So that's the question that legislators need to do. How this will affect the human beings? Their workers are human beings. Doesn't matter. They're immigrant workers. Doesn't matter the color of skin. They're human beings, and they deserve better protections for wage, and better protection for housing, and better protection for breaks. That's very important for workers.
Thank you so much for your time today, Manuel. And we are here for the struggle. We're going to keep pushing for farm worker protections in the General Assembly, including getting rid of that Jim Crow exemption. slowly crawling out of Jim Crow here in Virginia.